All right. Monday evening on the week of early signing period, transfer portals going on, and playoff preparation, bowl games all in front of us. I'm joined by the normal crew, PG, Jay, Jason. Glad you're all here. Y'all already know the drill. We're going to go straight down the line, starting with PG, ending with Jason. Let the people know where they can find all your great content.
Yeah, y'all can find me on YouTube, Apple, Google, Spotify, the PG Show. We're here to talk about some recruiting all week. It's going to get fun. More flips coming down the pipeline.
Flip miss.
We've hit that point. I'm Jay, Unfair Sports. Y'all know to find me here on YouTube as well as whatever podcasts are download and listen to. Always a good time.
Same here, Jason Watkins, Hall of Fame College Football with Jason and the coach. You can find us right here at CFB-pod on YouTube, everywhere you listen to your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, all that good stuff. Welcome to the show, everybody. Please wipe your feet.
Welcome in, wipe your feet. Cody, the professor, in here with us. Cody, I don't even know where we begin today because it feels like we should be talking transfer portal. A lot of big things happen here. And then about 30 minutes before we go on, Dylan Raiola, longtime number one quarterback in the 2024 class. Now, depending on where you look, he's the number one quarterback in the composite. I believe he's the number two quarterback in the nation. But five-star unanimously flips from Georgia to Nebraska. Now, there are some family ties at Nebraska. Nebraska was chipping away before Georgia. But, gentlemen, it's just a little bit odd to see a guy flip from Georgia to Nebraska. I get there's the ties, but Georgia's on a real heater in terms of their production, back-to-back national champions. I understand they didn't make playoffs this year, but they were a game away from the college football playoffs. PG, we're going to start with you and then just go straight down. How surprised were you about the Dylan Raiola news? And I already know the answer you're going to give me.
I told y'all back when he committed that he wasn't staying at Georgia. That, listen, Donovan Raiola, they were going to whip up some magic. I think it was – I think what I said back then was I think Nebraska just had too big of an advantage with the family member there and the opportunity to, even during dead periods, sell him this idea that you come to Nebraska, you help make Nebraska relevant again. You are going to have all of the money in the world and you're going to be a high profile. You'll be just as a high profile player as you were at Georgia because it's Nebraska. Like, the news headlines will always be there if Nebraska gets good again. And so I look at it and I say, Nebraska has had a sneaky good recruiting class this year. I mean, Carter Nelson at the tight end position, he was the second overall tight end in this class and one that was wanted by Georgia, Oklahoma. I think even Bama was in that recruitment at one point. You had Grant Bricks, one of the top offensive linemen. I mean, believed to be able to come in and be a starter for most programs. Even here at Oklahoma, I think we were saying, hey, like, this guy could come in and compete right away. And then, not to mention, they went out there and Matt Rule is trying to lock down the state of Nebraska. This year, they've gotten 6 out of their top 10 players, and I think they're in position to go out there and try to flip 2 of them. So Nebraska's really doing everything they can to turn themselves back into a powerhouse, and I think Dylan Raiola is a start to that. You and I were talking about it in the green room. I've said if they had Dylan Raiola this year, I think they go to the Big Ten championship and play Michigan, and that game's probably a lot closer than Michigan would have wanted it to be because Nebraska's big pain point was their offense was just hot garbage. It wasn't as bad as Iowa's, but it was hot garbage.
Jay, what are you thinking? A 5-star flips from Georgia.
It's fascinating that this went down and everybody at Georgia is just going to blame Buford High School because they've had no success with that school whatsoever. Even though Dylan Raiola he's not even from there. Like, he's from Hawaii, played ball in Arizona, then transferred there just for his senior year just so he could be close to Georgia, and then technically could have leveraged that as an opportunity to recruit more players there. But that's going to be the scapegoat in this situation. It shouldn't be Kirby Smart. It should be, really, I mean, you could just throw it at Buford, but at the same time, PG's right. Those family ties do help. I honestly did not think the flip was going to happen. Nebraska must have put together a beautiful package to get him to go there. And at the same time, to be 100% honest, he has a better chance of being successful at Nebraska than he does at Georgia. Now, let me explain to you why. go look at the history of 5-star quarterbacks that Georgia's had. Do they have anybody left? Because Vandergrift's gone now, right?
Yeah,
And statistically, they have not done well with 5 stars. It's the weirdest thing. It's the damnedest phenomenon that 5-star quarterbacks go there to die. They usually bring in a 4-star or a walk-on that goes in and just takes everybody's jobs. It's weird. I don't get it. I don't know. But at the same time, this is a surprise for me. Just because it's Nebraska, right? Matt Rule does a fantastic job at recruiting, and PG's right. They do have a sneaky, solid class coming in, but it's still Nebraska, which we've seen has basically alienated themselves the minute they moved into the Big Ten. It's Nebraska. So I'm curious to see if Nebraska can keep this run going. As long as they hang on to Matt Rule, they might be all right.
So, hey, Baylor.
Do you think Donovan used that 5-star pitch to Dylan?
I don't know that he did that. I mean, he could have. I think also, I mean, he released a graphic. Did y'all read what was on the graphic?
It's like a verse or something, right? He didn't like start spitting lyrics or something.
So
listen, all I know is God's telling all these players that they need to be somewhere.
Yeah, the Lord, you love it when the Lord tells them to go to your favorite team.
Right.
And Raiola's graphic, he says no longer his desire is to no longer be a cog in some powerhouse machine, but a quarterback with an even grander ambition unseen. So looks to me like he wanted to go and do his own thing. Nebraska will more than certainly afford you the opportunity to be the savior of that program, as the professor put in the chat. They're going to give you that opportunity. Now, Jason, give me your reaction to this, and what does this mean for Matt Rule?
Well, I think it's huge for Matt Rule. I think that they lost most of their games coming down the stretch, but you saw them kind of make a move towards being more relevant this season. And I think that when you have, first of all, Raiola was not at any point something that I wouldn't say he was. I've always felt like he was kind of shaky there, even though he did go to Georgia to go play high school football. But this is what, his 3rd or 4th team that he's committed to. You know, I mean, you know, he was committed to SC and he was committed to somebody before that. And then he was, you know, I mean, it's just, this is not like he's, you know, I wouldn't say that it's for sure until he gets there, you know what I mean? And who's to say? So even though his uncle is a coach on the team there, his dad played center in 2000, as Mike was telling us in the comments there. Look, I think that I wasn't overly surprised. I do think it's big for Matt Rule to be able to go out there, pick up a guy who is a top-end quarterback, can spin the ball like nobody's business. I think it's important in order to be able to compete, particularly in that Big Ten. You're going to have to go out there and get some studs offensively, because that's one of the things that they've really had an issue with, is putting points on the board.
Not just Nebraska. Guys, the Big Ten offensively is absolutely devout of consistency. Maryland, the problem with Maryland is you don't know what Maryland team you're going to get, but when Mike Loxley and them guys are out there cooking, they will cook some of these Big Ten defenses. The problem is consistency, and then you don't have enough good teams. There's a reason why Michigan and Ohio State will tend to dominate it, because they're the best offenses for the most part, and the Big Ten in a typical season. Addressing the offense is huge. Now, just open to the panel in no particular order. What does this mean in terms of recruiting for Nebraska? How many playmakers do you think they're going to be able to flip between now and Wednesday, or between now and February? Because let's be honest, I think you have a much better case at pitching to a blue chip wide receiver. Come catch balls from a 5-star quarterback, as opposed to we don't necessarily have a plan. What do y'all think about that?
I think their class is pretty full as it is. When you look at it, it's 26 deep, and I think they're only going to take about 30 from what I've heard. They've got a couple players that they're still waiting on, like Vincent Shavers at the linebacker position, Amari Sanders at the corner. They're waiting to flip a guy from Maryland, but I don't really see them going out there and landing maybe a guy that was previously committed with Dylan Raiola at Ohio State and Jeremiah Smith, for example, right? I don't think they're going to go out there and flip a guy like that. I think they're going to get maybe some of these remaining guys that are on board. I think Dylan Raiola will be able to come in and help sell a pitch there. But I think what they've gotten on the offensive side of the ball for him to be able to use as a weapon in terms of Carter Nelson, they've got Isaiah McMorris. That was a guy that Oklahoma was originally looking at the wide receiver position. I think they're going to be good there. I don't think they're looking at maybe taking anybody else unless maybe somebody hits the portal that they just can't live without. But, I mean, maybe y'all heard something different.
Well, they do have Devon Hall already coming in from, he's their top or the number 2 player in the state there, Devon Hall, at receiver, 6'1", 180. So I think that, you've got a guy there. Then Ja'Cory Barney, who's 6-footer, another 6-foot guy, at 180 pounds out of Miami, Florida. So I don't think they're dying there. Those guys are both, you had Hall's a 4-star, Barney's showing up as like a 3 fringe 4-star. Same with Isaiah McMorris as well. So, and they're going to be their speed guy out of, he's also another Nebraska kid. So, I mean, I think, but I don't know that you wouldn't see somebody flip, when you got a guy like that. And if you're able to if you're Dylan Raiola, I mean, as I said, he's been committed to 4 different schools. So I don't know how much pull he has on saying, hey, come with me whenever, are you going to be there? So it might be kind of hard, but I don't know that you wouldn't be able to do it if you're, the number 1, number 2 guy in the country, why not?
It's a huge win for Nebraska. I'm just interested in seeing what they're able to continue doing in the transfer portal and in recruiting. But let's talk about both, right? Because it is the season. Texas and Steve Sarkisian, gentlemen, are on an absolute heater right now. I mean, an absolute heater on the trail. You're talking about Makuba. You're talking about they flipped the 5-star safety from Florida. Then they get a 2025 tight end on top of getting a guy that was just a 5-star DB through much of this period, Kobe Black. Let's talk about the horns, because this is exactly what I mean when I say that Steve Sarkisian and this staff, they recruit different. I've given this spiel about the Oklahoma staff several times. There's a reason why I find it to be a little bit of an analogous talking point. But when we looked last year, the biggest need that the Texas Longhorns had was that inside linebacker position. How did they address that need? They got the number 1 inside linebacker in the nation, Anthony Hill. Okay, great. We go into this year. What's the biggest need? You need something in that edge position, right? But before we really uncovered the secondary need, we knew that they had to have an edge. What better way to do that than you got a 5-star edge in your state playing for Duncanville that all these SEC teams want? You get them to stay home. Great. Throughout the process of the season, now we see the secondary is an area where they need help too. How do they address it? Well, they go out and land arguably one of the best defensive backs in the portal, Makuba, who has ties to the state of Texas. They flip Filsaime. I mean, I am blown away with what Sark and company have been able to do and continue to do on the recruiting trail. And this is the fundamental difference I've talked about. It's the difference between getting a snack of a recruiting class as compared to recruiting full meals. And that's exactly what Sark is doing. Same order as last time. We'll go PG. Oh, different order as last time. The camera angles are all what? We'll go PG, Jason, Brinsky, Jay, take us home. Talk to me about Texas, because I'm really blown away with what Sark and those coaches are doing out there right now.
Shoot, I texted Jay the other day when I heard Kobe Black and Xavier Filsaime might be in the same class. And I said, is Texas about to go try and chase a number 1 class? Because that's really feels like what they're trying to do out here. Xavier Filsaime was a safety that Oklahoma was looking at early, ended up moving on from, committed to Florida, and I thought he was going to be there. And after Florida held on to that quarterback, I'm trying to think of his name.
Lagway. DJ Lagway.
Yes. And he was believed to be flipping to A&M, and Lagway came out and said he was committed. I'm like, oh, so Florida's going to drop bags to keep their players. I mean, I started to have doubt that he would flip, but no, I look at it. Texas has done everything they needed to last year with getting linebackers and edge rushers into this program. I know somebody had a question. Steven had a question about their defensive line. Their defensive line is going to be fine. They got Alex January. They have Colin Simmons, and they have a couple other guys there as well. Top-rated defensive linemen for that. So I look at Texas and go, going into the SEC, they have positioned themselves perfectly to be able to go out there and compete with the Georgias and the Bamas. The question is, are they going to be able to continue the success that they've had this season, one, in development, but two, keeping this locker room together and not, letting it turn into a little bit of chaos? Are they going to be able to keep all of that going into next year and the years beyond? Because Texas does Texas things and they self-destruct. And that's going to be the thing that keeps Texas from creating themselves back in the national contention every single year.
Fair. Listen, that historically has been them. I guess the question, Jason, I'll pass to you. Has Sark already proved that he's well on his way to righting some of those concerns?
Yeah. Well, this year he did. I mean, they had a couple of games that they very easily could have lost, probably would have lost. And the thing that I would look at for next year is that, honestly, aside from the Michigan game in week 2, and then the back-to-back games with Oklahoma and then Georgia, there isn't a game they should lose on the road or at home, period. Their conference slate had a total of 52 wins in 2023. You had their road games. I mean, their road teams. You had Vanderbilt. It was 0-6, I think, or whatever. They didn't win at home. They didn't win a conference game at all. And then you have, I think they're on the road at A&M. That would be probably the toughest of the 3. And then they have, I believe, what was that other one? I mean, I want to say it may be Mississippi State. So in the end, they have the easiest SEC schedule of anybody by far. Once you get done with Oklahoma and Georgia, they get Georgia on the road, at home, and then they get obviously Oklahoma in the Cotton Bowl like normal. So I think once they get through that, and that's what middle of the season, they close out with a very favorable schedule for them. Basically, if you can split between Oklahoma and Georgia, I think you're in line to be in the conference championship game if you just split those games, because you'll end up with one loss. I mean, it's almost for sure going to put you in the conference championship game if you're Texas, unless they were to gag it up against somebody like A&M, But honestly, if you take a look at their SEC schedule, it's pretty light.
I'm watching that Kentucky game for them. That one intrigues me, even though I know it's in DKR. Mark Stoops teams are always a team that you should not overlook.
Kentucky's a disciplined team. I expect them to play disciplined football, but I'll say Texas has been a disciplined team this season, playing really disciplined football, and they returned some key pieces. I'm interested in some of the pieces they're going to have to replace, but once again, that's where we talk about the way this staff has recruited, which has been impressive. Brinsky, talking about the heater that Texas is going on, what are you thinking as all these guys are committing to the Longhorns?
It looks like a nice little trend that they on right now. They like to call themselves DBU, and all of a sudden they just been getting a lot of DBs out of transfer portal and committing to them. Me in particular, I love Kobe Black, and it just felt like he was going to Texas for the longest. I don't even know what took him so long to commit, but they just heating up, man. I'm not expecting anything less from Sharp, especially after the year he's having this year, and it looks like it's going to be something to continue. So I don't see it slowing down anytime soon. But what I will concern myself with is that even though he's getting a lot of DBs, that room's starting to look a little bit crowded, just a little bit crowded. I don't know, because yes, you're getting a lot of guys, but it's a lot of talented guys, and some of those guys not going to play, especially with Malik Muhammad playing the way he playing right now as a freshman. Mm-hmm. And of course, he's got 2 more years. Somebody who's going to be willing to just sit on the bench and actually wait their turn, or you're going to experience with a lot of teams going through this year, like the Georgias and the Floridas and everybody else. You experience a lot of guys in the transfer portal. So,
yeah,
we'll
but
see.
hey, I think it'd be better to be in a position where you have the talent stockpiled. That way they walk out, as opposed to not having any talent there and being in a really bad position.
Yes, sir.
Jay, what have you thought as you have been watching this avalanche to the Longhorns?
Yeah, this is the one place where I can actually talk nice about the Longhorns and not feel bad about it because, this is a college football forum. This is a round table. We're talking about everybody. And,
That's right.
and I show my respect to those that I have respect for. I don't have to like them, but, I do respect them outside of most. But at the same time, no, Texas has been on it. And this is the one thing I've given Sarkisian his props for, especially going there. Anytime that there's a deficiency or an issue there on the team, they go and address it. So like this year, if the weakest part of their defense is their secondary, they went out there and got some of the top defensive players to put in there. And they're hitting those players from the transfer portal that provides experience. So they're plugging and playing. We've already seen a few Texas players hit the transfer portal before even the playoffs, which tells you that most likely they're just a guy, or they knew that they weren't going to get a chance to truly play going forward. So they're going to go ahead and shop, because some players believe they need to get in there early to get those opportunities to start today. Whereas a lot of these teams that really want good depth are waiting until after the bowl season to really go after some of these recruits, because that's when really your cream of the crop is going to show up. Those players that are potentially starters on some of these bowl teams, they're most likely to hit right after bowl season. And so Texas went out there, recognize where their problem was, where the deficiency is, and say, you know what, we're going to zero in on those spots. They focused on the offensive line and trenches. They've got themselves some secondary players. And then from there, they continue to add the traditional Texas positions of skills, right? I mean, Texas having a top 10 recruiting class is as old as the game itself. It's a tradition like,
Right.
like
Every
no
year.
other. So it's not like
In
we
the offseason
are
every
in
year, bro.
shock that they're going to do this. We're not surprised that Texas is doing this, but I think that in the manner of them actually focusing on those positions of need is really what shows you the meticulous thought process that Sarkisian probably adopted from his era with Saban, where he kind of learned under the tutelage of someone who's won those national championships and who knows how to make those hard decisions of players like, man, I would love to have that guy, but we need that guy more. And then as you're starting to calculate those 85 scholarships, you're at that point of who do we want, who we don't want. And just like you said, Ty, very great point. Texas is about to start feeling it. Oklahoma's starting to feel it a little bit now, just as Bama, Georgia, well, A&M is different, but more so those top schools there, they're starting to lose a lot of talent because they got too much. At a certain point, you got to start letting go of those players because you only got 85 scholarships. And so as long as you're not losing key and critical players or whatnot, I expect Texas to see a big influx of players leaving as well as coming on a regular basis. But because Sarkisian is so focused on that foundation, they'll be just fine. They'll maintain competitiveness as long as he keeps that in the forefront like he's been doing so far.
And he's done a great job at that. He's done a great job he started off with the offensive line, which he knew was going to be important there. It's something that they had clearly not handled very well in the past. He starts off there, then he goes defensive line, and now, clearly you're going to see in the playoff that their biggest hole is going to be in that secondary when they've got the best passing attack in the country coming at them. So, I think that he knew that, and don't think that the recruits don't know that too, that they're going to have an opportunity to come in, play right away when your guys when you're coming in and replacing a secondary that has been vulnerable this season.
I'll tell you what, I'm excited to see what they continue to do in terms of recruiting, but I'm interested in seeing this coaching staff because you have guys like Kyle Flood, you have Bo Davis, you have Jeff Banks. I mean, there are some heavyweight recruiters, just to name a few. And part of the issue is keeping a staff together, right? Like you start seeing this success and all of a sudden you have outside forces poaching coaches, and it's a great problem to have. That's when you know you're really starting to build something successful, is when now you're in bidding wars all the time for your coaches. They've done a great job at keeping it together, but I'm really excited to see how they do early signing day, if there's any flips, signing day. And let's not forget, gentlemen, we are only in the first transfer portal window. And one of the things, Jay, you alluded to it, I apologize, but that second transfer portal window is really interesting because there are going to be guys in that second transfer portal window that thought they would be starting. And the reason why they didn't enter in the first window is because they thought, okay, well, the guy above me is about to hit the NFL draft, or he's hitting the portal, I'm next. They might realize come spring, there's a young guy, a transfer portal entrant, a freshman, or someone who's been on roster that's past them. You're going to get some quality pieces in that second transfer portal window. But let's talk about recruiting real fast. And then after that, we're going to let Jay talk to us about the new addition Oklahoma got. But Brinsky, we need to relish into some Alabama good news, my man. We need to have this conversation because coming off of this weekend, Alabama had a surprise visitor in Tuscaloosa, 5-star defensive lineman out the state of Georgia, Edric Houston. Committed to Ohio State, but whenever he committed, it was largely between the Buckeyes and Alabama. This surprise visit has gotten a lot of attention, and deservedly so. Freddie Roach is that guy when it comes to defensive line recruiting and recruiting in general, and we know what it's like when Nick Saban gets that final press. That is something I'm really excited about, but that's not the only name to keep up with. Kevin Riley, a running back from Tuscaloosa County in the state of Alabama, currently committed to Miami, ranks as the number 76 player per the 24/7 Sports Composite, I believe.
Out of nowhere, man, just the simple fact that they posted like he's on campus and all that, I got really excited because I was like, why are you going to Ohio State, man? You really ain't got to go up there. But it's starting to make more sense as the days go by. Apparently, it's a rumor that Larry Johnson is going to move on from Ohio State. I don't know how true that is. So, and of course, we all know what he produces with the Bosa brothers and Chase Young and all those guys. But like you said, Freddie Roach is building up a resume just like that with the type of players that he's putting in the draft. So we definitely got to give him that same type of respect. And I think he can see like how geographically that is good for him because it's probably be harder for his family to go up to Ohio State, well, Columbus. But even with NIL, but they in Georgia, that ain't nothing but a skip in a rock to just get to Tuscaloosa. So geographically, that makes a lot of sense for him. And scheme-wise, it works out for him too, playing under that system. So it's a lot of major factors. And just seeing him just come on campus and it just be an unofficial couple of days before the early signing period is amazing. So I can see a flip coming, but I wouldn't bet my money on it. But it can possibly happen. And then with Perry Thompson, I'm not believing that. I just think he just hyping it up until signing day. He's gonna sign with Auburn. I don't expect nothing from Perry Thompson when it comes to Alabama.
It's going to be interesting to see. Now, he did post that graphic with both the Bama jersey and an Auburn jersey, and I was like, man, if you're committed, why is that Bama jersey in there? We'll see. I think it'd be hilarious just because 5-star flipping from Auburn, right?
Yeah, my fault. But I think the only thing that gets me every time I think of Perry Thompson, the only thing I can think about was this past summer when he said I was 60% committed to the Alabama Crimson Tide. I like, okay, he's gonna flip. It was just a matter of time. I just kept saying he's gonna flip. He's gonna flip. I have never in my life heard a recruit say that he's gonna do that. Of course, all of them say I'm 100%. And then 1,000% and all that, but I have never heard nobody say that. That was, we'll see, man. I just don't see it happening. If it happens, I'm gonna be like, okay, are you really here? So we'll see. It's all smoke and mirrors.
Jay, What are you thinking? Should Alabama fans, or really should college football fans, be expecting some Nick Saban fireworks this week?
Absolutely, it's Nick Saban, man. This again is a tradition as old as the game itself. This guy has a tendency of getting those young, promising prospects, especially ones that are top tier, and he whispers in their ear the sweet nothings of coming to Alabama and I'm going to get you drafted. You only got to take 1 year of body aches before you actually get yourself sent to the next level. Preserve your body, go to the NFL and actually last for 10 years instead of the traditional 3. Make it to the pension by hitting those 5 years. We'll do that for you because you only need 1 year of tape to be a first rounder with me. So, of course, he's going to definitely sell a lot of these players on that dream because it's a reality. We've seen this happen with him on numerous occasions. All you need is that 1 year of tape. And so Houston can come in, get his weight up, work out, do what he needs to do to prepare himself. And then the year before that he's eligible to go pro, start getting his reps in. And then the year of his eligibility, plays an entire season and cooks. That is what he's going to push for. And so I can anticipate there'll be some flips. I don't know if Houston will. The question's going to be, is Larry Johnson gone, right? The question is the Godfather going to retire? That's been the rumor for like 2 years that around 2023, 2024, he was going to go ahead and he's going to hang his whistle and be done with the recruiting trail. Put that smartphone down and get out those DMs. But we don't know if that's going to be true or not. If it is, Bama's got a really good chance of snatching the kid up. If he don't, I think he ends up sticking to his commitment to Ohio State because if anybody outside of Bama put some defensive ends and some linemen in the pros, they get guys drafted in the first 4 picks all the time. So they have the same argument. The question is, which person do they want to learn underneath? And you really don't go wrong either direction. But I can see Saban and them putting the full court press on the guy. He's local. He's close. Makes sense if he's a rock skip away. But I'd say keep your eyes open. Be cautiously optimistic. Keep the caution there, though.
100% PG. What are you thinking for Alabama in terms of early signing day?
Man, I thought this was going to be like a quiet class for Alabama. And then all of a sudden lately, like they're just trying to go out here and flip kids. But no, Edric Houston would be a great addition if you guys are able to add him. You guys are looking at a couple flips, but I mean, hey, I think Jay put it perfectly right. Larry Johnson, it's all going to depend on whether he's not going to be at Ohio State long-term or not, right? If he's there long-term, I don't think you guys are taking Edric Houston from Ohio State. So,
fair enough. Fair enough. Listen, I've always said Larry Johnson is the godfather of defensive line recruiting. If there's anybody that when I see them on that recruiting board, I'm like, okay, this is going to be a fun battle to watch. Go ahead, Brinsky.
You know what I just thought about? I was about to say, yes, Larry Johnson is that guy. We all in agreement there. They scared me with 2 recruits last year. With Keon Keeley, I was like, okay, it's us and them. And I was just like, okay, he's spending too much time up there. He's taking pictures with LeBron. I'm like, all right, I'm getting discouraged. But he ended up at Alabama. So I don't know, man. Maybe he knew something in advance, or maybe just saving, or Freddie Roach gave him that talk. So we gonna see, man. It's really gonna come down to it. But this is a different guy. Of course, I know that much, and a different relationship. But we're gonna see where it come down to. But I just want to get that out because I forgot how nervous I was about that and the Caleb Downs one. I was very, very scared.
Well, and the retirement talk has stepped up a lot lately because of the fact that him and Jim Knowles are apparently not getting along as well, Larry Johnson and Jim Knowles. So there's been a lot of talk about that I guess, Knowles kind of feels like he undercut him on some things and didn't help him out, or, that they weren't doing the things that he wanted to do as the defensive coordinator. So it may have, sped up the process a little bit, according to who you're hearing around. I even heard that from some of the creators around the program there in Columbus. So
it's going to be something to look out for. And, Eric says Larry Johnson is their guy, but we have Nick Saban and you have Freddie Roach, right? Yeah. You got both of them, and that's a tough duo. Really, really tough duo. Now, PG just just you're in here talking about USC, so let's talk about USC in the transfer portal because Damani Jackson entered the transfer portal today, and things aren't exactly going according to plan in Southern California.
There's another one that just got added to the portal from USC that to me is probably a bigger loss than Domani, to be honest.
Tackett Curtis.
Tackett Curtis.
Yeah, I
didn't know if it was.
If he's legitimately hitting that portal, that's a massive loss for them.
Yes,
that he
is.
was one of those players that could be the cornerstone of your defense. It's that linebacker spot, man. He's the quarterback. He's one of those types, and that's how talented he was coming out of Louisiana. And I was just like, yeah, man, it was impressive to see that USC was able to snatch him from the jaws of LSU. But with him now in the portal, ooh, buddy, that's a struggle.
Yeah, and I think the big thing is he got to play, right? Like he didn't just play, like he put up significant production as a true freshman. 40 total tackles, 24 solos, 2 sacks, 1 fumble recovery, or 2 fumble recoveries, 1 forced fumble, and 1 pass breakup. So, yeah, that was being reported by Ryan Kartje, US beat reporter. So that's pretty big. Damani Jackson, I don't think he really played a whole lot for USC, did he?
No, just former 5-star.
Yeah,
He had some
former
injuries.
5-star. Another 5-star. So you add him with Malachi Nelson to the list of 5-stars that are deucing it. Fighting
you could
on
probably see
away
Corey
from
Foreman
him.
this year because I think that was a name last year that we looked at potentially hitting the portal, and then it looked like USC had tied things over, but again, really hasn't done anything out there at USC. I think he was a former number 1 or number 2 overall player in the country in one of his classes. Like Corey Foreman was, like he was a guy that was wanted. But I looked at Damani Jackson and I said that could be a guy maybe Oklahoma gives a look at depending on how their cornerback room shapes out here after the bowl game, because Damani was really interested in Alabama, and Jay Valai developed a really good relationship in 2022 with Damani. Not to mention, this staff tried to get Damani before he ended up ultimately signing with USC. So in 2022, and there was interest last year if Damani Jackson was going to hit the portal. So Damani Jackson, I think, is going to be a high commodity. You'd look at Alabama as one of the favorites there. Obviously, with the relationship that Jay Valai had with Damani, you would expect Oklahoma would potentially try to make a run, but I think it's going to depend on what that linebacker or what that cornerback room looks like. But USC, they're having some portal exits. Mario Williams, Malachi Nelson. I mean, it's doesn't look like things are very good out there in Southern Cal.
And
Yeah,
even
to add to that real quick, Domani did play in 10 games this season, so he got some significant snaps. Now, I don't know about the snap counts, which I'm looking up right now, but he got some games. So he was one that they were truly trying to develop in something. But what really hurt and what makes sense of him leaving was their cornerback coach heading to Georgia. So he could end up over in Georgia with him. As he's with Dante, he probably could go that direction, which honestly makes sense, but would also suck.
But will he play, though?
Player. I think
Damani will play.
enough.
He's talented enough. He will play.
Yeah.
Georgia secondary's got some.
That's
dudes,
what
and they
I'm
got-
saying.
But they got
Yeah.
Robinson coming in, and he's a top 5 player in the nation.
I think the only game I've seen Damani play the whole time was that Oregon game this year, and he did not look good. And I was very, very high on him, man. I just pray to God he goes somewhere where he can play. Is a defensive-minded coach, teach him some better technique. Because like PG said, man, he's very, very talented, man. And I want to see what he
Alabama,
sees.
not Alabama, Oklahoma is what you're saying, right?
Why would he follow Dante?
Go there,
is
then.
the question. like Brinsky mentioned, you know, a few people have questioned his technique, and in some games he just doesn't look very good. I mean, do you want to follow the cornerback coach that didn't make you look good? And the next question is what's Georgia thinking bringing him in? Is it scheme? Is it him? What's it look like?
Well, and the thing is
Come on.
but they're not even winning. I mean, and they are in trouble at SC. I mean, they're not winning the guys that they're supposed to be winning for an offensive coach, much less the guys on the defensive side of the ball. And I understand that they brought in, you know, a guy that a lot of people really expect a lot of good things from. He put together a top-level defense at UCLA this season. But the truth is, you're already not winning them, you know, to get the commitment to begin with, and then the ones that you do, now you're getting flips and having people leaving and you know, in the portal. Lincoln Riley has the problem with Lincoln is in the forefront. Everybody sees it now, and who does he have to lean on to show him how to get this done anymore? because of the way that he left Oklahoma. You don't have Bob Stoops in your corner anymore to try to help you figure it out. You don't have, obviously, with the death of Mike Leach, he's not there anymore. So, who is it that you have to lean on if you're Lincoln Riley? And I think that he has shown his stubbornness and wanting to do things the way that he wanted to do them so much. The fact that he apparently told Jim Leonard he couldn't bring his entire whole staff is insanity to me. If you wanted to get that guy, you had to allow him to do all of it. They still haven't fired the yoga instructor out there. I mean, look, it's clear what's going on at USC. And I think that, after a while, the recruits are going to start hearing it too. Hey, it's true, man. Yoga instructor.
Yeah, to go with to what Coach I mentioned, as well as Shawty mentioning the lack of experience, the thinness of experience in their secondary right now, makes sense. I mean, Damani had over 700 snaps this season, 600 of them coming at wide corner. So he has the experience. The question is who's going to be there to coach him on the technique that you're looking for, right? If Dante goes over there to Georgia, will the staff around him be able to help develop him into the corner we expect him to be as a 5-star, right? Like, he was a top player in the country too. We don't want to discount that in the 2022 class. He was a special talent. The question is can somebody figure out how to, in 21 class, get him, with those 700 snaps, really develop him into a potential lockdown corner, or if he's even capable of doing it.
Look, this is a name I think a lot of people are going to be looking at because, Jay, what's something I talk about all the time, man? There's an intersectionality in the transfer portal that you can help it, you go for.
Yep.
Do they have eligibility left? Do they have experience? He answers yes and yes. So Damani Jackson, name to watch in the transfer portal. But Jay, I'm going to pass it to you right quick. And then I guess for this one, we'll go Jay and then Jason PG. Y'all can figure out who goes after that. Brinsky and I will bring this one home. Oklahoma remains aggressive in the transfer portal, and if everything stands to reason, will remain aggressive as early signing day approaches. Talk to us about the big get from the transfer portal this weekend, because I know you're excited about this player. Or I guess it happened today. For some reason, I feel like it happened yesterday.
I feel like yesterday.
But it popped today. Talk to us about this addition. Talk to us about what Oklahoma could continue to do in the transfer portal.
Yeah, the Sooners picked up Bauer Sharp, the tight end out of southeastern Louisiana, FCS, as well as even a couple of days before that, you got to see picking up Samuel Franklin, also out of FCS. And look, I've told a few people this when they ask the questions about, okay, what's special about him? Why would you pick him up? Think of them as picking up a JUCO player, right? Everybody gets excited about JUCO guys because they've got that experience playing at the collegiate level and they understand the work that's required to get good. Bauer comes in 6'5", roughly 245, and he's a former quarterback. So those former quarterbacks converted to tight end sometimes can be difference makers. I mean, heck, Oklahoma had Blake Bell that did that, and he's a tight end for the Chiefs right now. He provided some really good moments at Oklahoma, and so Oklahoma's trying to fill the gaps of those positions where we need additional depth and additional players, right? We lost Jason Llewellyn to the transfer portal. Austin Stogner is headed to the draft most likely because he's out of eligibility.
Out of eligibility.
So you need to make sure that you get some experienced guys with the young guys that that's been dealing with injuries over the last year or so, just to make sure you've got that position flowing, especially when you're bringing in Jackson Arnold, who most likely will rely on the tight end a lot more with Seth Luttrell's new offense. But the good thing is there's so many weapons in the wide receiver room right now. I think we'll be fine overall. And our running back room is pretty full, but adding a player like Samuel Franklin, if we can keep Tyree to go with him, dude, I mean, you've got two dudes that can be borderline bowling balls, and Sam is really good at breaking tackles. Watching him and his breakaway speed, Oklahoma is really focusing on filling those areas. The transfer portal is built for them to use as fillers for spots that they haven't already filled when it came to recruitment. Last one I want to add in there is Eddie Pierre-Louis, just committed to Oklahoma. The 4-star guard, I mean, he's 335 pounds, and dude runs like a 12, I think it's 12.7, 12.8 in the 100. Like, there's a video on his Twitter account of him running track. and you see him booking it with a whole bunch of kids. You're like, wait a minute, he's really keeping up with them. Like they're like a quarter of his size. Dude gets it, and I saw him on video pressing 25 times without even sweating. Like he's just strength on top of strength. So EPL bringing him in on top of the players we're bringing in the portal, man. Oklahoma is doing what they're supposed to do and finding the players that's needed to fill the positions of importance.
Before I flip it to PG and Jason, I'll say this right here because, Jay, you talk about Sharp being a former quarterback. I'm going to tell you something that can be massive about guys like that, right? Because when we look back, Bama had a guy that was a former kind of do-it-all guy out of high school. Now, he played slot wide receiver, not tight end, but it was Slade Bolden. And the one thing I kept picking up on with Slade Bolden is, especially in third down, he ate zone coverage alive because he understood this is the first down marker. I'm going to find the open spot in the zone and I'm going to sit in it. And he was a security blanket for Bryce Young. For y'all, one of the things I talk about all the time, new quarterback, new offensive coordinator, check. Those guys' best friend can be good tight end play. And having a guy that you're going to slot out at tight end that understands the quarterback position at some level is inherently going to give him an insight and an advantage into those third down situations where maybe the defense is in zone. Well, his expertise is going to say, hey, sit in the zone, sit in the open spot, give your young quarterback an easy target right here for the conversion. I love that. I always love those little details like that. PG, we'll start with you. Talk to me about OU as early signing day approaches. And you're on mute. Happens to all of us.
The dog was barking just a minute ago. I had to get up and open the door. I muted myself. Totally forgot. No, I'm really excited for Oklahoma for early signing day because you're getting a lot of guys on campus that I think is key and crucial. You get David Stone here. I believe you're getting Jade Jackson on early signing. Devon Mitchell, which we talked about, Bauer Sharp in the transfer portal. Bauer Sharp, by the way, I like this pickup because I think he can give you a little bit of Jeremiah Hall type of vibes where maybe he could be kind of like an H-back tight end role hybrid, but also maybe you could see some packages like what we saw with Jackson Arnold this year, where it's like you got a 4th and 1 or a goal line stance, and you want a big quarterback that can get in there, and you don't want to sacrifice your starting quarterback. Well, hey, you could look at a Belldozer type package because he played a little bit of quarterback as well, so maybe you could utilize him in a couple packages like that. So I really like that pickup, great there. But as far as early signing day goes, I don't really expect Oklahoma to add a whole lot to this class. I think really you're looking at Dalen Evans and you're looking at Dominic McKinley, right? What's going to happen with those two? I don't think Oklahoma is going to flip any offensive linemen at this point, just from what I've done in terms of digging. But I know I really like what Oklahoma is getting here. You're not getting EPL as an early signee because he's a private school. So unfortunately, you're going to have to get him in the summer. And I think the likelihoods that EPL comes in the summer and just starts, it's unlikely. But I think Oklahoma is in good shape. I think what they've got coming in on the early signing day, it's going to be a good class for Oklahoma.
Jason, thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I think that, when you had the loss last week of Caden Green getting in the portal and stuff, I think everybody immediately jumps to, oh gosh, we're screwed. And he started 7 games, so it's a concern. When you bring a guy like EPL in, I mean, this is a guy that is a straight up stud athlete. He's got a brother that plays in the NFL right now. That he's going to be able to come in and give you an opportunity right away. And so guys like that, and I really like the pickup of the tight end as well, man. And I still feel like, and I know that was one of the places that was a big need for Oklahoma was the tight end room this year. It wasn't as great, but with Bauer Sharp, it seems to me like he's going to come in. That's immediately going to give him an opportunity to kind of step up and be a mentor for guys like Devon Mitchell. And I think Ivan Carrion as well. I think that Ivan Carrion, as big as he is, he's fast. But I also think that he could see himself in the rotation a lot quicker if he moves to tight end. But I think you're right too about Sharp being possibility of that H-back role. Obviously with Seth Luttrell coming in, I think you're going to see more of that anyway. So the biggest thing for Oklahoma is definitely going to be, it continues to be in the trenches on both sides of the ball. Offensive line became a little bit more of an issue when you lost Caden Green. But I think that when you have Bill Bedenbaugh, whoever he's getting to come in, you have to expect that he sees something in them that he can exploit and make them better. And because nobody brings along guys like he does. You know, he's projected to have yet another guy in the first round this season in Tyler Guyton. Tyler Guyton really wasn't even the best guy on the line this year towards the end of the season in that position, you know. In fact, he wasn't starting the last couple of games. So, I mean, look, I think he's ready to push on to the league, but there's some guys that are already there and ready to get stuff going. And, you know, you don't tend to worry about whoever it is that he's pushing out there to be a starter. You hope that they start quickly, but with the, you know, pre-conference schedule, you should be able to get some jail time with those guys.
And as we're sitting here talking, Alabama gets a big-time pickup, top 300 edge, top 300 player in the nation, Ja'Shawn Ross, 6'4", 220 pounds. And Alabama continuing to stack that edge room. It is insane the amount of talent they have there. And the rich get richer. I mean, it's just absolutely wild. I mean, when you look at this room in particular, I think there's a real argument that this is the most loaded room in all of college football. I've said it before. I mean, when we look at who was recruited where, right? If we just go off of the services, you have Keon Keeley last year, number 2 player in the nation, 5-star. Jan Zapier, 5-star. Now you have Ja'Shawn Ross on top of Dallas Turner, Chris Braswell. They're about to head to the league. But you have Quindarius Robinson, Keanu Cott, Alexander, who is a 5-star, Quay Russaw, who is a 5-star. I mean, it is just insane, the level of talent they have there at the edge position. So rich get richer. Going to be a lot of fun to see this upcoming season, what everything looks like there, especially with Dallas Turner and Chris Braswell moving on to the NFL. Brinsky, what's your thoughts?
We don't recruit. We only reload.
True.
That's all it look like, man. Rich get richer, and I love it. I love it. I love it. It was kind of hard to hold in that smile after seeing that pop up. So yeah, I'm actually kind of happy about that. So yeah, it's just a more loaded room. And definitely with the names that you just named, it just we already know Chris Braswell and Dallas Turner going to the league already. But it's going to be very intriguing who's going to be starting on the outside next year. So the future is bright in Alabama.
Yeah, absolutely insane. If I'm not mistaken, there are 4 or 5 5-stars. Just, and that's including Braswell and Turner just sitting in that room. Absolutely insane. Georgia inside linebacker room, absolutely stacked as well. But also while we've been sitting here, Dante Moore, crystal ball to Oregon. Any surprise on this one, guys, especially with Gabriel heading up there? PG, I'll start with you.
No, it's a great opportunity for Dante Moore to sit behind a super veteran quarterback and know that, hey, like after next year, I'm taking the reins. And here's the thing, like Dante Moore, this is not a situation where he might take the reins after Dylan Gabriel leaves, he will be taking the reins. Like you saw him get some time in at UCLA, and although like he just didn't blow him away, like, you know, with a year under the tutelage of a tenured quarterback, he's going to figure it out, and he's going to get an opportunity to gain chemistry with these wide receivers and the offensive linemen. So I think Oregon was, because I would have thought it would have been Michigan if Michigan didn't already get their quarterback in the future in 2024. So I think it's a great move on Dante's part. There was a need at Oregon. He definitely filled it.
Listen, and you got to think about the last 4 years. DG has not finished out a full season without getting hurt. So there's an opportunity for him to come in. He's going to learn from him, but DG tends to get banged up at some point during the season. You know, so you had to expect that. And I think you're right. I think you're going to learn a little bit from him. And I think that Dante Moore is the real deal, you know, but yeah, you know, I think that DG's it's a good opportunity for him to, you know, he's going to get in there and play and do what he does. But, you know, if Dante Moore sees the field, there's an opportunity he may not get it back from him.
Yeah, I don't see that with it personally, only because, yeah, DG's seen some injuries, but it's usually been like a game and a half. Besides that big
Not
shoulder
the last 2
injury, he's
years
played.
before that.
Besides that shoulder injury season where you only played 3 games, he's played over 12. He's played 11 games every season. So, but the good thing though is the way that Oregon plays ball, they're gonna have a lot of blowouts in front of them to the point of Dante Moore will play the entire second half of games, right? So you're not wrong on the capacity that Dante Moore has a very good chance of seeing the game. I think the bigger thing for him is he was thrusted out there at UCLA, and man, he just wasn't ready. And you could tell in the way that he was trying to figure things out. The game was moving too fast for him. But going up there at Oregon, being behind, Dylan Gabriel and really learning, similar to what we've seen with Jackson Arnold, being able to have someone that can walk you through it and walk you through the steps, that has a very good brain when it comes to being a quarterback, very high football IQ, can do nothing but work wonders for him in his future going forward, which he's recognized. He's like, all right, I need to go somewhere where I can really get some tutelage because they're trying to fire my head coach anyway, so I don't even know if Chip Kelly's going to last past the season. May as well go to the school that I should have signed with from the beginning. Then I'd been prepared to go ahead and play this season instead of having to sit one more year. But that's okay. He'll be just fine right behind Dylan Gabriel. He'll get a lot of game, and then then the year after that, we can see the Dante Moore era really begin.
Brinsky, what are you thinking?
No surprise at all. But the only thing I would say about that, are we sure that Gabriel's going to start? I'm not saying that Dylan Gabriel is not a good player, because he really is a good player. But I don't know. I just think Dan Lanning is very, very high on Dante Moore, and I can absolutely see him starting over him. So that's going to be very, very interesting. Because that's why when I
there's no chance.
I don't think the thing with Dante that you saw was an inability to take care of the football. He had like multiple picks in I think every game he played in.
He had 3 straight games of 3 picks and 3 picks.
Correct.
Like 3 picks and 3.
Yeah, he was brutal. He was pretty brutal.
In 2 years,
thrust it in there.
In 2 years, DG had almost 80 touchdowns passing and only had 12 interceptions total.
Yeah. I'm getting all that. I'm getting all that. I just know that spring game is going to be very, very interesting. Now, I'm about to say,
I think Dante's great. Don't get me wrong, but I think that he needs to learn to not turn the football over.
Listen, if he starts Dante Moore over Dylan Gabriel, Oregon fans might be calling for Dan Lanning's head.
But at the same time, look at what Dan Lanning did with Bo Nix, right? He got Bo Nix there. He convinced
this
Bo
man
to
was
stay
called
there.
Bo Picks.
He was called Bo Picks for years, and so he took a veteran quarterback because he brought his offensive coordinator with him initially, but in that second season he stuck 100% with Bo. So I totally see Gabriel going in there as the starter initially, maybe down the season depending, but Gabriel's good enough to lead them to a bunch of victories. If they feel like they need an additional spark, I could see them going in there and asking and playing Dante more and more. But I think the bigger thing is they want him to be the long-term solution for them, right? They want to get 2 seasons of him as starting quarterback like they did with Bo Nix. He's not a guy that's going to go into the draft after his 3rd season. So at that point, you may as well learn this bad boy now, sit behind someone that can teach you like just the playbook, if anything. Then you can go propel yourself into being a star player. Because they already know they only got Gabriel for 1 year. He's only got 1 year eligibility left. The question is going to be, does Oregon get themselves another quarterback out of the portal after Gabriel leaves? That will tell you how he feels about Dante Moore.
Yeah, and here's the thing. It's kind of the same way I was saying whenever I kept saying that we needed to try to keep Dylan around for the first year in the SEC. I've said that. I said it a bunch. And the reason for that is look, if you have a guy like Jackson or now Dante Moore come in and beat you for the job, fine. Go in and push for it, fine. But, you want to have a guy who has experience in your first year in a new league, period, point blank. So I think that more like they have to be leaning towards Dylan Gabriel. If they get blown away by the development between, year 1 and during the spring, fine. But I don't see that really happening.
No, only reason why I said that is because, okay, it was just interesting to me when the transfer portal started and Dylan Gabriel and Dante Moore both went to Oregon that same weekend. And I was like, oh man, it was just so funny how fast Dylan Gabriel committed there. That's why I was like, oh, he must know something.
$2 million.
Yeah, that too. But I'm just saying, but do Dante Moore even want to sit on the bench? I don't know. I don't know if he really wants to, but we're gonna find out, man. That's why I said that spring game is gonna be very, very interesting. And just the whole lead up to it. I just feel like it's gonna be one of those QB battles that gonna lead all the way up to opening day. I just feel it coming.
The only thing is, though, Brinsky, is Dylan's been already committed for a couple of weeks now. So it seems like if Dante had a better opportunity, he would have already taken that. If he's willing to sit on, if he wasn't willing to sit on the bench, he probably would not have committed.
Dante Moore has committed to Oregon.
Yeah.
Just happened.
Just happened.
Let the games begin.
Quarterback in the class.
This is it's about to be Game of Thrones in Oregon.
It's gonna be fun to see what Oregon does, man. They're building up a good room there.
That's hilarious.
Oh, I'm just stirring up drama up there, man. I just want to see it, man.
Me too.
I just want to see it. If it turns okay, let's just say if it do turn out that way, he's the starter. Dylan Gabriel can't transfer. Do it, can he? I don't know.
As a grad, he can, technically.
Here's the thing. I'm going to have to find it, but I sent in our SEC Connect group chat a few days ago. There's legislation out where a court has basically put an injunction for the transfer portal, and there's a 14-day window where, if I'm reading it right, it doesn't matter if you've transferred 1 billion times. You can transfer 1,000,000,001 and play.
Yes. Yeah, right now
Immediately.
a judge just did an injunction to block the NCAA from keeping people from underclassmen from transferring. If you're a grad, you can transfer as many times as you want to as long as you get eligibility.
But I just don't. Saying that, I just don't think that even if he's not going to, right? We're just playing theory for the sake of playing theory right now, ladies and gentlemen. No news. We're just having a theory conversation. I just don't think the NCAA would, if there was a grad transfer, I don't think they'd fight it. You know what I mean? Because they straight up said that they're not going to fight the injunction. Now, Mickey, you had a question here. You asked, and I wanted to talk about it as kind of our closing topic, because I think it's one we can talk about very quickly and ended up here. Is Riley in serious big trouble in SC? Listen, when I think serious big trouble, the answer is no. And here's why I say no. Because to me, serious big trouble means you're about to lose your job, meow. Right? Like you're going to lose your job in the next few months. I don't think that that's going to happen. Now, if USC goes into the Big Ten and lays a goose egg and the defense still looks terrible, yeah. So I think Lincoln Riley is on a seat. The seat is warm, but the seat I wouldn't say is hot right now. I think people are paying attention. And sometimes you don't want people to pay attention to what it is you're doing. Sometimes you just want to go about your business or have people assume you're going to be doing a great job so they don't peer under the curtain. Right now, the problem is people are peering under the curtain for Lincoln Riley, and that might not be a good place. Jay, we'll start with you and go in the reverse order. What do you think about this question?
I'm going to be honest on this one. It does feel like he's in trouble, and it's because the exodus is big. We're not talking about guys that are being processed out, right? We talk about the transfer portal on a regular basis, and this is one thing that I try to communicate to my viewers all the time. I don't judge kids when they hit the transfer portal, because in the majority of the moments, it's because the school has 85 scholarships, and we want your scholarship now because we probably ain't going to play you. So we're giving you the opportunity to go where you can get a chance to play. Please go, be free. Do it. Go learn and play somewhere else, because here we'll make you a preferred walk-on. but we need that scholarship number because we got another dude that we want to bring in and see if he's better. So I try to be very weary about my criticism of kids going into the portal. In this situation, he's losing starters. Like, he's losing guys that are supposed to be the heir apparent. He's losing dudes that are supposed to be the ones that are supposed to be taking over, the ones that are supposed to be the next man up, and that they've shown in some places and maybe not others. Like, Ty, me and you have talked about Malachi Nelson a few times. We talked about him back when they were recruits, and when we looked at him, we thought that he was probably the worst of the 5 stars. Not 4s, but 5s. There was about 5-star quarterbacks, and we thought that he was probably at the bottom just because he's so small, and just certain things about his play just didn't just jump off the screen like the others. He was supposed to have been the dude that Lincoln takes out there and goes and wins another Heisman with, and now he's gone. So I think it's one of two things going on at SC. One, the players have already decided they're done with him, because I've heard some rumors around how things are running there, and it ain't very pretty. The second thing is that dude's taking the Chargers job in the next couple weeks, and these players know it. So they're getting up out of there knowing that he ain't gonna be there anyway.
See, I'm not privy to the NFL, but I do know that the Chargers are awful. So listen, I was answering this question from a perspective of job security. Right? Like, is he in trouble of his job security? Here's where I 100% agree. I don't think that he's in a problem where his job is insecure, but Jay, you're right. He could choose to move to the NFL because, listen, I've had the conversation with you. I think there are serious problems at USC that I don't think are about to get fixed in a year, and they're moving to a conference that plays real good defense. I think there are some questions. Brinsky, talk to me.
It's funny that we got all the Oklahoma guys, and I heard these guys countless times just talk bad about Lincoln Riley. So, yeah, I'm more interested in really all their perspective, because I know it's going to be bad. They can care less about Lincoln Riley. But, man, the more and more I look at it, Lincoln Riley is in trouble, man. If he keep losing recruits the way he's losing them, and I think somebody in the chat said something about what happens if he lose Branch and Deuce Robinson.
Well, that wouldn't be good.
And that would be just like,
I would like Deuce to come here, please.
Yeah, Deuce can come play baseball and football.
Skip Johnson will gladly take him. Him and Taylor Tatum together.
You know what?
James Nesta.
You know what? Let me go ahead and just.
How about this?
Right
Y'all can have Robinson, and we'll take Branch.
No, we'll take.
See,
No,
I don't know.
Already put forward.
Whoa.
That's a fair.
The man pulled out the gavel on us. The disrespect.
Oh man, that's a fair trade, don't you think?
No.
That is definitely.
Y'all have Mario Williams.
I like Mario Williams, but I like Branch better.
Me too. I would like to have Branch as well as Deuce.
Mario went out on the limb and said, "Oh, we can get Robinson. He can do this." Oh, he went out there.
Went to the portal too.
I apologize to everybody for hearing that loud bang on the gavel. That's on me, and your ears. You send your complaints down to the comments section.
It actually wasn't that loud. You should do it more often.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, man. So that's what I'm saying, man. I think he's in big trouble if he lose those guys, man. That's when I think he's lukewarm right now, but I think closer and closer when we get to the season. I don't know how I just lost the quarterback name just that quick that they just lost. Somebody help me.
For who? USC?
USC.
Caleb Williams.
No, not
Malachi Nelson.
Thank you. Yeah. And the crazy thing about that, man, I was like, why are y'all entertaining Will Howard? Like, I got a 5-star already ready to go for next year. Like, why are you entertaining Will Howard? I don't see nothing special about Will Howard. And I don't like how, only thing I know about Will Howard is how he blew that Texas game and him in the transfer portal. I'll
tell you why Lincoln Riley wants Will Howard.
Why is that?
Because he's a Kansas State quarterback. And what quarterbacks dice up Lincoln Riley better than anybody else? Kansas State quarterbacks.
I mean, it's a fair point. But at the same time, also the other thing is I think we've all come to the conclusion that Malachi Nelson ain't it.
Well, I said this
Maybe.
when they came. Like Malachi, I
haven't
think he's
seen
a
him.
talented quarterback, but I also didn't like the scheme fit. Right? Like that
Yeah,
was
sure.
always my big question was like scheme fit. I
I'll put
don't
you
know.
like
It was
this.
just,
If Alabama picks him up, then we understand exactly what it was. It was all schemes.
yeah, I just don't expect Alabama
No,
to pick
no,
him
no,
up. They
no,
got
I'm
Julian Sayin coming in.
I mean, he's a California quarterback, baby. You go
That's
for
cool,
it, right?
I'm cool with
They
Julian
do
saying
like the
coming in.
California
Nah, Julian
quarterback,
Sayin is
but-
stupid good. Jalen
Yeah, they
Julian
got
Sayin
their
is stupid
California quarterback.
But I think that Malachi leaving tells you that there's Lincoln's losing it in more places than just, on the recruiting trail when it comes to the defensive side of the ball, because they never win those guys. Think about it. Oklahoma beat them out for Taylor Tatum earlier this year. Now you've got a guy like this that leaves and he's a 5-star quarterback. I mean, there's a reason why he was a 5-star quarterback, folks. Maybe he wasn't it over there in his system, but he played with Zachariah Branch in high school too. I wouldn't be surprised at anything that happens right now. And they're not that far away from pulling the plug on this little deal. I don't think they are at all.
I mean, it's
completely agree
USC.
with-
Yeah.
I agree with Shoddy here. If I'm in a school, I'm going after Malachi Murphy or Malik Murphy.
Malik Murphy.
Yeah, man.
Talking about
Man,
Malachi
it's
Nelson
wild.
and Malik Murphy in the transfer portal. Yeah, I don't disagree on that. I completely agree there. Kid's got unbelievable upside. Has been a worker. Has been a grinder.
Built
Team
like
guy.
a tank.
Built like
So-
a tank, yeah. But you just listen to the way the team, whenever the Texas guys would talk about Malik Murphy, they from all the interviews I heard, talked very highly of him. And
You guys
that's
think
always
that-
big, right? I mean, talented.
Do you guys think Malachi Nelson ends up at Texas A&M because he took a visit there during his recruitment late? I didn't know y'all know you're laughing down there, but he took a visit late in his recruitment, and remember a lot of people were talking about him potentially flipping. So
Yeah, I mean, it could happen. There was that connection there. So
I'll go with that.
That's true.
Going to
That
be
was
interesting.
good.
They just lost Johnson to the transfer portal. So who knows and they just had a quarterback decommit, if I'm not mistaken, in this class.
yep.
So
Yeah,
they
because he
could
going to
use some quarterback
LSU.
depth. Yeah, they could use some
Isn't it
quarterback depth.
Anthony Maddox
No,
or
no, he
something?
going to Ole Miss.
Ole Miss, ladies and gentlemen, is Lane Kiffin might just be
That I
portal
could see.
king. What's up?
Yeah.
I said that I could see. I could see Lane picking up Malachi. I could see him getting Malik. I mean, why not?
He's about to land Walter Nolan. So
Please don't say that out loud. I was just like, stop with this crystal ball to Ole Miss. Like, where is this coming from? Let it stop.
I
Yeah,
mean, have you seen the class that Ole Miss has put together in the
Yeah,
transfer
yeah,
portal?
it's nice, but I'm just like, come on, man. You don't want to go there. You want to be a winner.
Listen, at this point, Ole Miss might be a winner next year.
Yeah,
And I
it's
hate to
wild
say-
what they're doing.
Yes.
Really
A,
wild.
it is.
a winner. What do you mean? Like, wait, y'all ain't seen this before? Lane Kiffin being the number one
Oh, he's
Portal-
portal. He's been portal king, no
team
doubt about it.
every year. Like this is a tradition as old as the transfer portal itself. This dude does this every year. I'm not sold on him doing anything on this team until they actually perform. When they get past 10-2 and not lose to the same top teams every year, then maybe I will have belief in them. But no, I don't
Yeah,
believe
the
in this
next time
team
he wins a
whatsoever.
big road game will be the first time. So
I just need them to win. Like
In the words
what
of
if this
Nino.
is every year, right? I mean, Todd. This we've talked about this like crazy. This dude's the portal king for a reason. Hell, go look at Josh Pate. He put up a video called the portal king like 2 years in a row. Same thing with JD PicKell. Everybody calls this dude the portal king. What they do with it?
So y'all think Lane Kiffin is doing a better job than Deion Sanders? Because I would argue,
Yeah.
I'd argue Deion Sanders
Yeah.
got a-
Lane's definitely doing a better job than Coach Prime. But the other thing with Prime is he only had 1 year. He's doing it for a refresh. Like
Yeah,
you got to
it's
give him
different.
another. This is different. He's got another year. It's like I try to, and this is my argument with people. I try to tell people you can't compare what Venables is doing to what Sark is doing at present day. Sark's been there 3 years. It took him a year to first figure it out. Then the second year he started to see some growth from it, and now boom, they're here today. Same thing with Oklahoma. We had growing pains the first year, still made a bowl game because we made a bowl game every year since 1998. Then we have our 10-2 season. It's growth from there. So it takes time to build that, because going from that 10 to 11 is the hardest, because you then have to beat usually one team that you have not been able to beat. And we see this right now with Ole Miss. So Colorado went from 1 to 4 wins, huge jump for them. And now you're seeing some of the players that they really want are starting to be like, yeah, I do want to come here and check out what y'all doing. And because of that 3-win swing for them, their NIL is starting to get better. People are opening up them checkbooks up there in expensive Denver now. They're like, yep, I'm an alum. I'm going to go ahead and help these boys out. Yep, Coach Prime brought in, like they said, like 100 and something million into the economy of Boulder because of his existence. Games being sold out. Restaurants are packed at all times. Yeah, he's changed the economics around what's going on at Boulder. So to your point, PG, we got to give him another year. Now, if they make a bowl game next year and they do another refresh within the portal, I could probably give him that title. But as of right now, Lane Kiffin's winning 10 games off the portal on a regular basis. That's 9 and 10 wins is huge.
Lane Kiffin, he might win 11 games next year at this schedule. I'm looking at it. It ain't very tough outside of LSU, Oklahoma, and Georgia.
Let me say this right here. Let me say this right here, because I got to give a shout out to Nino.
Got the easiest schedule though.
I got to give a shout out to Nino. Nino has asked this question, God, 3 or 4 weeks now. 3 or 4 weeks
Right,
now.
brother.
He asks us, what is Lane Kiffin's signature win? And that's for anybody in chat. That's for anybody. What is Lane? Was it that A&M win a few years ago when they went in there and shut them?
College Station.
We'll
beat them in College Station.
Shut them out. Yeah, right. That's why I stopped saying shutout, because I started thinking Lane Kiffin shutout. That doesn't seem like 2 words that go together. But an upset at College Station, is that it? And if
was
so,
it him or
Heisman
Hugh Freeze
Trophy winner this year?
Alabama.
That's a good one. That's a good one. LSU, Jason, I'll accept that. That's a fair one. PG?
Was it him or Hugh Freeze that got the Alabama win?
Lane has not beaten Nick yet.
Okay.
Yeah. Lane ain't beat Tay. But hey, Ty, let's add to that. Nick already knows. I say this dude is the same. There's 2 dudes that the Spider-Man meme of college football in the coaching ranks with Lane Kiffin. The other dude just pointed at him. Who is it? People in the chat, I would like y'all to guess. Who do you think, if there's a Spider-Man meme,
someone
of Lane
beat
Kiffin
you
of
to
coaches,
it.
Did they pop it in there? There we go. Lane Kiffin, James Franklin, same dude.
So if he beats
Same
James Franklin in the bowl game, does that
He may be the better version of James Franklin.
Fair, Dominic, fair. I asked what their big win is. Dominic says next season versus Bama. Fair. Fair.
That is a great comparison, but I think James Franklin at least beat Ohio State and Michigan.
No, he never beat either one of them.
Yeah, he's beaten Ohio State.
He did beat Ohio State.
It was a long time ago, but he's done it. He's like 1-9 against.
So he hasn't done it at Penn State.
I think he's got one against
Penn
everybody
State.
but Michigan State.
I don't think he's beat Michigan or Ohio State.
I don't think he's beat him at Penn State. I think he's done it at
Ohio State,
Vanderbilt, which
He's
is even
beaten
more
Ohio State
embarrassing.
for sure.
If you really get embarrassing.
Because he's been at Penn State for a long time.
Right
He's
now.
like
We're on the
3
schedule as we
and
speak.
15 all time.
James
against those
Franklin is
three teams.
1-8 against Ohio State.
There you go. 1-8, baby. Let's go.
0-4 in Columbus. The lone win coming in
2016. He beat him in 2016. Yep.
No, I said he'd been there for a minute. I was like, man, they did beat them.
And
That
still
was a
lost
crazy
2 games
night.
that season, which is embarrassing.
They're trash.
Hey man,
on
but he beat his rival. He beat the top
one of
dogs.
them. But that's the
He
thing
beat-
about
he
it.
beat
Is
the top
every
dog.
year
He beat
they
one of the
lose 2
top dogs.
games, and it's always Michigan. Well, I mean, since 16 he hasn't beat them. So since then he beat Michigan actually in 17.
Yeah, he's
See,
beat
there you
Michigan.
go.
So he's
3-7.
gotten a win over one of each, but he can't do it in the same season when it actually requires him to be able to go anywhere.
Hey, I think Penn State will be pretty good next year. I think they'll be pretty good next year because I like Drew Allar. I think they'll be pretty good next
Drew
year.
Aller.
Yep.
Hold on, you think
Oh,
Kiffin
hey,
does more with
Jelani
less?
Jackson has officially entered the transfer
Yep.
portal. Officially.
His graphic just went out.
don't think Kiffin
2 and
has
16.
legs
That ain't
though.
bad, James says.
2
Do
and
you think?
16. That ain't bad.
See, 2 and 16. You can't say that about Lane.
Can't say Lane ain't really beat nobody like ever.
When did Lane get to Ole Miss, in 2021 or 2020?
2020.
I don't
2020.
know,
No,
Shawty.
before then.
I don't know.
It
Before
may have
then.
been 19. I don't think it was 19 though, was it?
I think it was the 19 season because Sark was offensive coordinator at Bama for
Well,
that
no, he went to
2020.
FAU. He went to FAU before
That's
he
right,
went to
that's
Ole
right,
Miss.
that's right.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
20,
he had this stunt there. Yeah.
So I think
2020,
Lane's signature
Let me go look.
win. I think his signature win is against Texas A&M in 2021, where he beat them. They were number 11.
2020. 2020 is his first year there. In 21, they beat. Let's look and see what
In
makes
21, they beat number 11 Texas A&M 29-19.
I don't know why I always thought that Lane was at Ole Miss in 2019, but you're 100% right. It's 2020.
Which is crazy. Which is even funnier. You say that he beat number 13 Arkansas. He beat number 11 Texas A&M, which I don't understand why anybody even bought any of Texas A&M stock at that point. So I don't consider that a signature win because.
But that was the year they beat Bama, right?
And then they lost. To Baylor in a bowl game.
Yeah, but I mean, look at Lane's schedule, though. Like, I'm going to be honest. When you have to play Bama, Arkansas, Auburn,
LSU.
A&M, when they're all good, like, come on, you're going to lose some of those games. Like, you're not going to win all of them unless you're Nick Saban.
I mean, unless you're Alabama. That's my point.
That's what, yeah. So, like, I look at it and say, okay, so he lost to the teams that we expected him to lose to outside of last year where he just dropped a goose egg to
Which
Mississippi
means
State,
he's not going to
Arkansas.
win a Shenandoah championship, which is kind of the point of this conversation, is that we ain't saying that Lane Kiffin's a bad coach. I ain't say James Franklin's a bad coach either. Both of them will get you 10 wins on a regular basis. They're probably going to lose those 2 games they need to win in order to go to the playoffs and go deep into the playoffs. They ain't going to win it.
It's like Coach I says, it's Mark Richt. 10 wins.
Yeah.
10
Yeah.
wins and
Rick
not
was
winning
that
nothing.
same way. He's a really good coach. Really good coach. Just couldn't win.
I just know James Franklin is 2 and 16. That's the only thing I do know. He has 2 wins.
You know, we give him that 2-16 versus
Now
Michigan.
take that.
1-8 against Ohio State. I give him that.
Hey man,
Hey.
he's consistent.
Yeah, he just loses to 2 teams on a regular basis, which he hasn't beat either one of them since 2020. So
Yeah, look, Jay, you've been making this comparison forever.
I just
same dudes.
All right, gentlemen. It's been almost an hour and 30 minutes. I need to get out of here because I have another show I'm going to feature on, and it's about that time. We're going to go around the table. Everybody knows the drill. We're going to start with PG, end with J. PG, let them know.
Y'all can find me, The PG Show, YouTube, Apple, Google, Spotify. Make sure you tune in tomorrow at 6:30. We're going to talk about some transfer portal updates. And I see a lot of y'all freaking out on Twitter right now about some guys that Oklahoma's going after. So we'll talk about all that tomorrow morning at 6:30 a.m. bright and early. Crack of dawn.
Early morning PG shows, huh? This is hey, I'm Jason Watkins with Hall of Fame College Football with Jason and the Coach. You can find us right here at CFB-Pod. We have our live stream every Tuesday night at 8:30. So look for us tomorrow night, 8:30 Eastern time, right here. And then you can find me at JW_HOF on Twitter as well.
Well, I'm Brinson Sharp of the Sharpshooters Podcast. Catch us every Wednesday. We drop every Wednesday. And always and forever, thanks, Ty, for the invite. Appreciate you, my brother. And all the rest of you guys. And I know Monday is Christmas, so happy early Merry Christmas to all you gentlemen.
Yeah, we probably won't meet next Monday, so this will be the last Monday meeting for a while.
We're not meeting? What?
I'll be in Virginia. Jay.
Y'all know what it is. Jay Smith, Unfair Sports. Follow me on YouTube. Follow me on Twitter at Unfair Sports, as well as wherever podcasts are downloaded and listened to. Yeah, we won't have our Around the Table next Monday, which is going to be weird. But at the same time, everybody, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, possibly, because I think right after that, it's all bowl games at that point, and we all going to be busy every evening up until the 2nd. And so, yeah, enjoy this time, ladies and gents, because this is all we got.
100%, 100%. A lot of fun in front of us. And I will be doing a early signing day stream. It's probably going to start at around 10:15 in the morning on Wednesday. If you are over on Bama Football with Kyle Henderson, you can follow the show over there as Kyle and I wrap up that 9 to 10 o'clock show. I'll be going from there to the Around the Table Sports channel right here, and we are going to go live for early signing day. I don't know if y'all remember, but last early signing day, I was live for 6.5 hours. So
6.5 hours.
we'll have fun on early signing day. Until then, y'all take it easy. We'll see you next time. That's it. See ya. And the spinning wheel just